Josh, you need to let go of this interpretation because it makes no
Why?
sense.
It makes perfect sense.
The reason why the Jews were taken into exile was because of their own sins, not because of the sins of the nations.
That's not what I
In Babylon.
said.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a straw man.
Okay,
You weren't
sorry,
listening
okay,
to what I
go on
said. Among the rich.
That's exactly
Now-
what happened to Jesus.
Now,
Yeah, go on.
there's some mad people here today.
Yeah, go on.
Um,
Aren't there always?
yeah, that was funny. Have a drink. Hold on. Let's have a drink, shall we?
This is getting a bit heated for you, right?
Now, the very interesting thing is that what we translate as tomb is not literal. It's not a literal translation of the Hebrew.
See, literally, yeah. Okay.
Right? The literal translation of the word b'mosov means in his deaths. In his deaths.
Okay.
What does that mean?
But obviously they've translated. So this is a Jewish translation, yeah?
So they've translated it, right? Because there are interpretations that see it as tomb,
Okay.
right? But the literal translation, right, which is how a lot more rabbis have interpreted it. I'm not entirely sure why they didn't go with them and they went with the other one.
Okay.
It's b'mosov in his deaths.
Okay, so this is obviously a feasible translation, right?
Yes,
in his tomb.
but you don't accept the interpretation of the rabbis.
No, I'm saying
you're going to have to go with what it says literally.
No, I'm saying this is an acceptable translation, right?
It's an acceptable interpretation.
Interpretation, yeah,
but
fine.
it's not a literal translation.
Okay, so no problem.
Now, you're interested in plain meaning, aren't you?
Well, no, I'm just saying if that's what they're saying, what's your problem with it?
My thing is what I'm saying now is that even if we translate most here as tomb, we're going to have to translate it in the plural. And why are we going to have to translate it in the plural? Because the word is not.
They don't translate it into.
I know, but we're going to. The reason why they haven't translated in the plural is because they're being consistent with the singular in the rest of the chapter, right? And the only time when they weren't consistent with that was the last verse, the previous one, when it said them instead of him. No, where they translated people instead of person.
Yeah, go on.
Right?
Okay. So the
Over
point
here, right, they want to be consistent in translation. In the Hebrew, it's not consistent.
Okay.
In the Hebrew over here, just like in the previous verse, we have here a plural noun talking about one person.
Okay, so Josh,
Did Jesus have multiple tombs?
For argument's sake, there's a translation that says tomb singular, and you're saying that there's a literal translation that could be understood in the plural. Like I said, when there's ambiguity...
No, but this is not ambiguous, that's the thing.
Well, then your translation is wrong.
Fine, I'm okay with saying the translation is wrong.
So you know better than your translators.
Because anyone who knows Hebrew will tell you that when you write the word b'mosov, or in Israeli pronunciation b'motav, or in Yemenite b'motho, it's very clear that this is a plural noun.
Okay, so you're saying that those who translated, they didn't know Hebrew?
They do know Hebrew, but they're interpreting.
Okay, so they're interpreting in the way they think it should be interpreted, and you're saying they're wrong. Let's say I go with them, and you're saying that it should be different. And this is what
you can interpret it however you want.
I don't
but what I want to say is that when we're talking about,
I don't want to argue on ambiguity.
No. This is very important.
Okay,
the point I'm about to make. When we talk about a nation, we can translate plural about the nation when the rest of the chapter has been singular about the nation in the singular. And that's fine. We can even interpret it like that. But if you want to say that the whole chapter is actually about an individual instead, then it makes no sense for the Hebrew to refer to him in the plural. Do you understand that point?
Yeah, I understand that point.
So why here, according to you, this is not a problem for me.
Okay.
This is a problem for you.
Okay.
Why does the Hebrew refer to this servant in the plural? And it did it here, and it did it in the previous verse as well.
You're saying it refers to him in the plural.
Yes.
In this verse, where you're saying, and they made his. Is that what? Singular or plural?
His tombs.
His tombs. Okay.
Right.
So his singular, tombs plural.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the previous verse, it referred to him him himself in the plural.
Okay, so it's not
and
actually
it said the word lomo.
It's not actually referring to him in the plural. It's referring to him in the singular, but it's referring to his tombs or
deaths, which is the other
place
translation.
in the plural.
Yeah,
right? That's what you're saying.
And in the previous verse, it referred to him specifically in the plural, and it said the word lomo, which means to them.
Yeah, but I think even to them, I think that could be argued. It's talking about the Jewish people that they are actually the ones that are due those wounds, but it was averted onto this servant. Not averted, it was actually put on to this servant, if that makes sense. So that's what I said. I didn't want to argue on the ambiguous verse.
Well, I would say that this is very significant,
okay,
and a big problem for Christians to try to
not at all.
To come over.
I don't think so
would
at
say
all.
that.
I think what your explanation actually confirms, even corroborates exactly what the New Testament teaches.
Does Jesus have multiple tombs or multiple deaths?
No, he doesn't have multiple deaths.
Because those are the two possible translations of the word "bemosov."
But the point
his deaths or his tombs.
No,
That's what I'm going to say.
No, because the point of the matter is, even your Hebrew translation refers to it as tomb singular.
Yes, that's not a problem for me. Right? It's not a problem.
So it's not a problem for me either.
No, it is a problem for you because you want to claim that it's about an individual. Why would the Hebrew? I mean, I don't know if you consider the Hebrew here to be authoritative, but if you do, then why would the Hebrew refer to an individual's tomb in the plural? Why would it say individual tomb?
Okay.
The tombs when it means tomb.
Fine. Okay. Let's just assume what you're saying is right. Let's just assume what you're saying is right. But those who understand the Hebrew have thought it right to translate it in the singular.
Because they do not believe it's an individual, they can do that. Because for them it's not a problem.
Okay, so who do they think it is?
They think it's the Jewish people.
Okay, so even if it's a Jewish people, they think it's okay for it to be translated in the singular.
Yes, because of everything else about the Jewish people has been in the singular. And we know anyway that the Jewish people is a collective. And so we can refer to collective in the singular, we can refer to collective in the plural, and it's not a problem. For you, it's a big problem, because you claim the whole chapter is about an individual, and it made sense when we're talking about him in the singular. It makes no sense when we say he's got multiple tombs.
The point I'm trying to make is, and this is what you don't seem to get, these are your Hebrew translators, right?
Yes.
And they've translated it in the singular or plural?
They've translated it in the singular.
Thank you. So that's my point. That's
no, it's not. Because that works according to their interpretation of the chapter, which is that it's about a nation.
They've mistranslated it.
Fine, you can say that if you want. Right? They've interpreted.
You have more authority than these translators.
Well, who are the translators anyway? Right? I'm not saying that the translators deliberately mistranslated. What I'm saying is that the translators here have simply sought to be consistent with the rest of the chapter. I said that already.
Would you say that your translators are more acquainted with the Hebrew than you are? They know more Hebrew than you?
They're just as.
So you know just as you.
I know just as much as.
So you could translate the whole Tanakh easily, no problem.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty good.
Fair enough. Okay, fine. Okay, so these ones have gone against your translation. Fine.
And I'm sure if you were to speak to them and you were to ask them what's the literal translation of the word bemosov, they would tell you his deaths or his tombs.
They want the reader. They want the reader to understand the meaning.
Yes,
and they get from that passage the meaning is singular tomb.
Because they don't expect Christians to be reading this translation, right? They expect.
This guy's
no, it's true though. They're expecting that anyone who's reading,
anyone
who's reading the Koren Tanakh,
let's go with the next.
Koren Jerusalem Bible.
Okay, let's go with the next
anyone who's
passage.
reading that is someone who already believes in Jewish theology. It doesn't need to be told that Israel is composed of multiple individuals.
Joshua, let's not spin wheels.
Who had multiple tombs.
We differ on this passage. Let's go to the next passage.
That is what I wanted to say.
So let's see what you say with this. Because he has gone. Do you want to read yours?
If his soul shall consider it a. May it please the Lord.
Verse 9.
Because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth.
He has done no violence. So you're saying the people of Israel have done no violence?
I'm saying that the graves, them being buried with the poor and the rich and whatnot, right? They did not deserve.
No. That's not what the passage says. It says, because he has done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Are you telling me, you're standing here, that the Jewish people have done no violence and there's no deceit? Even if you want to say that they're one people, monolithically, you are pure from all violence and deception.
No, that's not what I'm going to say.
Okay,
Instead, what I'm going to say is that this second half of the verse is saying that the first half of the verse, where we've been buried like this, right, where Jews have been buried in their individual tombs, they didn't deserve the treatment that they got, right? It was justified by the kings by the nations to put them to treat them like that because they do violence and deceit. But in actual fact, that wasn't why they were put there. Right? They weren't put there for actual violence that they did or actual deceit they did. They were put there because of the nation's transgressions instead.
Okay, so the Jews are innocent of all charges of violence and deceit, according to what you're saying. As a monolithic people, do you say this?
The accusations of the nations when these things happened, yes.
Okay.
But in totality, no.
Okay, so when you say that the Jewish people, in what era of time are you think this refers to? The last 2,000 years?
The last 2,000 years, basically.
From the last time, from Isaiah to now?
Yeah.
From Isaiah to now?
Yeah. From Isaiah to now, whenever the nations...
You've never done violence?
Whenever the nations...
Have you not
whenever the nations have launched huge amounts of terror upon the Jews and have put their tombs, have buried them like that, right? Okay. With the poor and the rich, they have always justified it based on they're violent, they're deceitful, and whatnot.
So watch this. Okay, you're saying it's from Isaiah to now, and you know the Babylonian exile was due to the violence of the Jewish people.
That's not what the Babylonians said, though.
No, it says that you shed innocent blood. Yes. One of the accusation that God puts upon...
That's God's accusation, not the nation's accusation. There's two different things.
Okay.
I'm not saying that we're innocent. We're not.
This verse says he is innocent.
No, he's innocent of the charges that the nations had put.
No, because
not the charges that God had put.
Okay, so who's saying because he has done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth? Who's saying that?
The nations. The nations are saying that because the nations thought that it was justified what they were doing. It turns out it's not justified because the charges they brought were not true. We have done violence and deceit, but not the kind that the nations are talking about.
Okay.
The nations thought that we were going around killing their children and going around and...
Josh, you need to let go of this interpretation because it makes no sense.
Why? It makes perfect sense.
The reason why the Jews were taken into exile was because of their own sins, not because of the sins of the nations.
That's not what I said.
Okay.
That's a straw man.
Okay,
you weren't listening to what I said. That's not what I said.
Go on then.
I didn't say that the spiritual reason why we had to be exiled was as a punishment from God because of our own sins, because of violence that we'd done and maybe deceit that we'd done too, right? I didn't say that that's not true. Obviously that's true. I'm saying the accusation of the nations, right, was baseless. The nations accused us of all sorts of things when they terrorized us, and those accusations were not true.
Okay, so let's just go with that. Babylon. If you're saying these are the words of the people of Babylon. They're saying Babylon are saying the Jews because he has done no deceit, no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. You're saying the Babylonians were saying this, even though that is not the case.
Well, whoever the nations are when the Jewish people are eventually raised up high, those are the nations that are going to be saying it.
Okay, but
so it's irrelevant about the Babylonians because they're dead and gone. Right?
No,
what's relevant, right? Let's say the redemption happens tomorrow, Messiah comes and the Jewish people are raised up high, right? And we're all brought back to the land of the living, like Israel, right? And the kings of the world are absolutely astonished. They thought this people, they're these little schnips around the world, were causing all sorts of trouble, and they're behind all the great ills of society, and they thought that all this time when there was oppression done to them, it was actually justified.
Okay.
Right? Because they went and they killed Christian children to make their matzahs,
okay.
Or they went and they broke treaties.
If you want to come and chime in, no problem.
Right? And they lied to Muhammad and broke treaties with him, or maybe they brought transgender ideology to the West, or whatever it was that we were accused of. Right?
Okay.
At that point, they will find out actually That wasn't justified the way we treated them.
Okay.
The violence we accused them of, the deceitfulness that we accused them of, was baseless.
Okay, so the point I'm trying to make it, my response to this is you're going against the Torah.
Not true.
Every time the Jews are punished, it's explicit. If you read Leviticus, read Deuteronomy, I will bless you when you obey these commandments. I will bring judgment. I will raise up the nations to take you back into Egypt, take you back in ships, take you back into slavery. They will oppress you because of your own sins. You're going against the Torah, but I don't want to label on that point.
I already answered that question twice. Okay, you didn't listen.
Okay.
You didn't listen to what I said.
Okay, so let's go verse 10.
You have just demonstrated you didn't listen to a word I just said.
Okay, there's no point spinning wheels, okay? Let's go to verse 10.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just say you
didn't listen to what I said.
No, what you said, you have an authority that goes outside of the Torah.
That's not what I said.
That's what you did say.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so what did you say?
I said that the punishments that we get spiritually are because of our sins, right? But that's not what the nations are saying. The nations are saying that we've done things that we haven't done. What we have done, right, is why God is allowing the nations to punish us like this. But the nations are not accusing us of breaking Shabbos. We're gonna gas you, or we're gonna make a pogrom because you didn't keep Shabbos, or because you married Gentiles, or because you or because you haven't learned Torah properly, or whatever it was, right? That's not their justification.
No.
Their justification is because you stabbed us in the back in the war, or because you killed Christian children, or because you broke a treaty with Muhammad.
This is the point
or that you lie.
The prophet is saying, according to you, that the Jews are being punished for the nation's iniquities. That's what you're saying.
That was one other thing.
And I'm saying that's not what the Torah teaches. You're going against the Torah. And then you said to me, I said to you, show me this in the Bible. You said, no, your authority is outside of the Bible.
I don't want two authorities, just like you have two authorities.
So you can't show me from the Bible this
precedent. I know, because the Bible is not our only authority.
Okay.
We have something to explain the Bible.
Okay, fine.
Just like you've got something to explain the Bible.
No problem. But the point I'm trying to make is,
Testament.
My point is, what you are saying has no basis in the Torah. And that's all I'm saying.
No basis in Torah itself, maybe.
Yes,
but
thank you. I'm glad you even concede that. According to the Torah, this makes no sense.
In the Torah Shabbat maybe. In the Torah Shabbat it's there.
The Torah what, sorry?
Well, Torah Shabbat means the written Torah.
Yep.
Torah Shabbat means the oral Torah.
Oral Torah, okay, fine, okay.
Right?
Even if you go to the oral Torah, I've read Josephus, and he speaks about the oral Torah, he even tries to connect why that the Jews were, the reason why they were exiled at 70 AD, and he was trying to use the reason because of their own sins. At no point in that tradition does he ever say because of what the nations did. So are you okay?
At that point, we were not yet under the yoke of the nations. That punishment, right? The nations never. The nations. Well, what did the Romans justify it? They justified it. Well, you rebelled against us, right? No, that's not the real reason we were punished. We were punished spiritually because of baseless hatred between the Jews. That's very clear in the Oral Torah. That's very clear in the Talmud. Because we were disunited. We had there was hatred amongst us. We didn't look after the poor in our society.
So God saw it to punish the Jews, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now what did the Romans claim? Did the Romans claim we're doing this to you because you're disunited? Because you're no, they claimed we're doing this to you because you're violent against us.
But what I'm saying is you just agreed with my point.
No, I've not agreed with your point.
Okay, so let me explain why I say you are.
Your point is a straw man.
No. This is why I say you're agreeing with my point. You accept Israel are always punished for their own iniquities. But for some reason, in Isaiah 53, you're making the claim that Israel are being punished because of the nation's iniquities.
In addition to it.
Which goes against what the Torah teaches. But that's basically.
Show me one place where it says that the Jewish people cannot be punished in addition to their own iniquities, but also because of other nations' iniquities.
Okay, show
me one place.
Let me show you something. If the Jews are obedient and follow the commandments, no punishment will come upon them. Now, according to you,
we'll be fulfilling our task,
and you will not be punished, right?
Yeah, and then the nations won't be sinning like they are now.
You cannot make the
claim. We will be fulfilling our task.
Cannot make the claim that this is talking about Israel because the reason why you're being punished is because of the nations. Not Israel.
No, it's in addition to it. I've told you it's 5 times.
No, but it's saying that
You're not listening.
It's saying that you've done no violence
You're
and
not
done no
listening.
deceit. Okay, let's go to verse 10.
You're not listening.
Let's go verse 10.
You're not listening.
Don't worry, boss, don't worry. All right, listen,
You're not
verse
listening,
10, verse
man.
10.
You're
Let's
not
go verse 10. Let's tell me, try and explain to my brother here
Right,
how this makes sense.
The guy earlier accused me of being blind. I think someone here might be deaf.
Okay, sorry.
You're not listening.
Listen, try and explain to my friend here how verse 10 makes sense in light of this being talking about Israel.
All right. But it pleased the Lord to crush him by disease. If his soul shall consider it a recompense for guilt, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the purpose of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the travail of his soul, he shall be sated with seeing. By his knowledge did my servant justify the righteous one to the many, and did bear their iniquities. Surely I will give him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he was poured out of his soul to death, and was numbered with transgressors, but he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. Okay, what's the problem there?
So here's my point. It's saying, he shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. Yeah. By his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many.
Sure.
Okay.
Decide to crush him and
Sorry.
make him ill.
No, you come in. Don't worry. You can partake in this as well.
So why did the Lord
Hold on, justify many, justify
okay.
the righteous one to the
He's
many.
asking a question. Did you
Sorry,
hear the
what did you
question?
say?
the Lord desired to crush him and to make him ill?
Yeah.
So if the nations had sinned,
Yes.
why would God also side with the nations to crush him? And
I've already explained this. You might not have been here when I did. What I'm saying is that the Jewish people have a task to be the light unto the nations. If we fail in our task, and as a result of us failing, the nations continue to sin, there is actually an added amount of punishment that we get because of that, because of those sins. So we are punished for our own sins. We are also punished because of our failure to get the nations to stop singing.
Okay, where are you finding this? Where are you getting this from?
I already told you. you.
Not from the Torah, surely.
I already. We had this discussion 3 or 4 times already.
Okay, fine,
you didn't
fine,
listen
fine,
then.
okay.
I doubt you're going to listen now.
No problem. Okay, and it goes on. It says, therefore I will divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out his soul unto death. Okay, and he was numbered with the transgressors.
Yeah.
Who's the transgressors? Who
The
was numbered?
transgressors
Yeah.
are the people who actually do sins.
So he was numbered with the transgressors.
Yeah. He
So
was
Israel
numbered
was numbered with who?
with the nations. We were numbered with the worst of the worst. We were numbered with criminals. We were numbered with idolaters. We were numbered with blasphemers.
And he bore the sin of many. So
Yeah.
they didn't bear their own sin, no?
we bore our own sins
No, it
and the
doesn't
sin
say
of many.
that. No, it's saying they specifically bore the sins of others, not their own.
Hold on, just 1 second. Avraham, how do you translate chiddush in English?
Well, a novelty, I suppose.
Novelty. The novelty that this verse is saying, this verse is not just repeating things that we already know. The novelty that this verse is telling is that not only are we bearing our own sins,
It doesn't say that.
which we know from elsewhere in this
No.
very book.
Okay, no,
Oh,
in this passage, you're interpolating. Okay, go on. Sorry, anyway, go on. No,
The
go on.
novelty of this verse is that we are also bearing the sins of the many, not just our own sins.
Okay, so where's
which is a big novelty.
Okay. Can you show me in the passage where it says that he bears the servant bears his own sins?
It doesn't need to in this because we know it
doesn't
from
need to.
elsewhere.
No.
We know it from elsewhere
No,
in the book. We
it's-
already know that.
It doesn't say. He says he's righteous.
Are you
He's not
seriously
righteous. No. It says he's righteous.
Where does it say that?
Oh my days. Okay. It says in verse 11,
Yeah.
he shall see the labor of his soul
Yeah.
and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant.
That's not what that says.
Okay, go on. Tell me what it
It
says.
says, by his knowledge did my servant justify the righteous one to the many.
Say that again, sorry.
By his knowledge did my servant justify the righteous one to the many.
He shall see the labor of his soul and be. What translation have you got?
net, New English.
What does yours say?
Verse 10, right?
Verse 10, yeah. No, 11.
Sorry, 11. He suffered and will be satisfied. He will be satisfied when he understands what he has done. My servant will equip many who will carry this.
It doesn't use the word righteous in anywhere, no?
It doesn't. Yeah.
Having suffered, he will.
He'll be satisfied when he understands what he has done.
I can justify this
He will be
translation
satisfied
with the
when he
Hebrew itself.
understands what he has
If you want,
Okay.
I can
Well,
justify this translation.
according to the, I'm not even saying I agree. There are some actual issues with translations of. There are definitely translation issues. I've got
Well,
no
yeah,
problem with
of
that.
course.
Okay.
I can justify what I'm saying though from the translation of this from the Hebrew itself, because
Okay.
it says bidato, with his knowledge, yatzdik tzaddik, he shall justify the
So
righteous
who's the
one.
he? He's Israel.
Yatzdik tzaddik avdi lo rabim, right? So because there's a little pause there. There's a tavir, which is a
Okay.
pause
Okay,
note
go
on the word tzaddik.
Yeah, go on.
So yatzdik tzaddik, who's the subject? Avdi, to whom? Lo rabim.
Okay, so
Right? So the object of the verb here is tzaddik, the righteous one, and the subject of the verb is avdi, my servant.
Okay, so you're saying that Israel shall justify the righteous ones.
No, we'll justify the righteous one. Who's the righteous one?
So justify. You're saying Israel.
We will justify God to the many, which is our task. That's what we will do.
No, I'll have to look into
The translation.
translations of
Yeah.
this. I think that's quite dubious. That kind of translation.
Well,
Um,
I can justify it from the Hebrew text very well. And if you want to be able to do that yourself,
Anyway,
learn Hebrew.
Anyway, yeah, I would love to. Yeah, definitely, I agree.
I-
I definitely agree that I think that it would help us
From
in a lot
a
of these.
Christian perspective and knowing what you know about Jesus, would you agree that this could also fit into what Jesus did and
What did he do?
his death?
He died.
Talk about his
Besides dying, what did he do of substance in his life?
preach the good news, what the Jews were supposed to do. He preached to the nations. He ordered his
He preached to the nations?
Yeah, he ordered his disciples to go out and to spread the good news to all the nations. Right? So this is what
The good news of what? The good news that a kingdom that didn't come had come.
that will come. The kingdom had already come. The spiritual
Had it?
kingdom had
Didn't look.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's a
spiritual.
But we're
Ah.
talking about his suffering. Right?
spiritual.
This is a passage about his suffering. So
Well,
was the
this
suffering
one doesn't mention. This
and
verse
iniquity-
says with his knowledge, right? With his knowledge.
Can I explain why Jesus came first and not the kingdom? Because when the kingdom came to the people of Israel, what happened? They rebelled. And so what Jesus was doing was establishing subjects for the kingdom, then the kingdom will come.
Well, that's your contention.
Well, I'm just saying,
Fine.
this is the message of the king.
Fine. I don't think he was actually indeed a king because he never reigned.
Anyway, thank you for your
king reigns.
your time. And
Should we do the last bit? And was numbered with transgressors, but he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors.
Okay, so the Jews will make intercessions for the nations. Yeah?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Right? On Rosh Hashanah, we do.
Okay. Fair enough. Anyway, nice talking to you, Josh.
Yeah. Nice talking to
Yeah.
you. Sorry, what's your
Josh, I
name?
Will.
have
Will.
a
Thank you,
question.
Will.
Bless you.
Josh, I have a question as well.
I hope you will have a good day.
Thank you.
I have a question as well. And again, my
Yeah,
objective
sure.
is not to convert.
Yeah, sure.